Okay, my name is Mary Ellen Crispell,
Okay.
and I'm 55, and I am originally from Southern California, but more recently, for the last 11, 12 years, I've lived in the state of Arizona, and currently I'm in the Phoenix area.
What took you there from California?
Business opportunities, and with my husband at the time, and family were closer by, and so it worked out. It's been nice. I like living in Arizona. I'd love to go back to California, but I've gotten used to Arizona prices.
You
So
used to have friends and family, so you have
hmm
kind of the best of
I
both
do,
worlds.
I do, I do, I do.
And do you work outside of the home as far as occupation?
I'm fortunate enough. We were in business, and we'd owned a quick service restaurant type uh, place, and we were able to sell that in the last couple of years. And the idea was to sort of semi-retire, and we had bought an RV, and we're going to travel the country. And then my marriage broke up, and it's very amicable. We're in both very good places, but so now I'm a bit at loose ends, so to speak, like finding that next, I don't know, something that will take my fancy, something that I want to do. I've had two or three different careers in my life, and I don't know what's waiting around the corner. So I'm just, my motto is to just show up, and why not? So we'll see what that might bring.
Yeah. And so did the RV go
It did. It
with
went,
him?
yes, yeah,
Damn it.
yeah, yeah. It did. It
But you
did.
could always get another. You can borrow mine if you
Yeah,
like.
no, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I
They'll be,
finally found the propane tank.
yeah, very good.
Wow. So what things do you love to do? Do you have ideas about what excites you as far
I
as
do
hobbies
like to
go?
travel,
Okay.
very much. And I would expect over this next 6 months to year will be, I have to get a couple of shoulder surgeries due to arthritis and continue the weight loss journey. And probably spend the summer traveling, visiting grandchildren and friends and places that I wanted to see in the country, that type of thing. And then in the fall, I'll probably end up settling in the Prescott area, north
Really?
of Phoenix.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't know what will be waiting for me after that. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's kind
Are
of
you
an open.
excited about it though?
Yeah, I
Just
am very much so.
yeah. So
Yeah.
how many kids? You said grandkids. You don't look like
Right.
you're
So I
right?
have no. I've got two. A stepson, and then three grandchildren. And for me, um, the grandkids came after my marriage. So even though I'm not grandmother by blood, I'm definitely grandmother by heart. And so it's all good.
And then, are they nearby? So you can
No, they're
visit?
back in Michigan. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So you can at least rent an RV, go see them maybe.
yeah. Or just drive and stay in a hotel.
Instead of drive. Yeah.
Something like that. But definitely, I want to get out on the road and have some adventures.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm
So did
open
you
to.
say in graduation, 07, 08, when did you, like, what brought
I
you to
was
Movara
here.
initially?
Okay, so
Yeah.
initially there was a USA Today article.
Okay.
It was concurrent with the popularity of the Biggest Loser show.
Okay.
Before Movara, it had not yet joined the Biggest Loser group at that time. It was just Fitness Ridge, and I think the property had only been open physically here a couple of years at that point. The building we're currently sitting in was not built. Only one of the, like, building A was up, and but anyways, USA Today did a front page on their lifestyle section about places that you could get that experience at,
Yeah.
and they profiled Red Mountain, Fitness Ridge, and one other place that I can't remember now. And they rated Fitness Ridge, which Movara was called at the time, as being the most affordable and probably the best bang for your buck. And at the time, we were living in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, it's right up the road. And I came up here like in November of '07, and for a couple of weeks. And then I came back in January for 5 weeks in '08. And then it wasn't that much longer within that following year that they joined up with the Biggest Loser franchise.
And was weight loss your primary goal? Or
Yes,
what?
it was. That was
So
my
that's what made
primary
you pick
goal.
up the phone initially.
Yeah, it was.
Awesome.
And when I left here after my time here, I was only maybe about 8 pounds more than I am now, or 8 pounds less than I am now.
Okay.
So, but I was not, I went to the classes, but it just didn't, it's the same as it is now, but it was structured differently too. And the information was good, but I just wasn't, I don't know, cognizant of really how important it was. I mean, I wasn't ready I wasn't ready to do the work.
We have
Prob-
to be, right? You
Yeah,
have to be ready in
and I
things at
wasn't.
different
I
times.
wanted the scale to go down, but I wasn't really, no, I wasn't ready yet. is the best way that I could put it.
And so is anything that's too personal, just tell me to back off. But so is weight loss, has that been part of your whole life story? So has that been something you've worked on?
Weight has always been an issue in terms of it was an issue in my family, in that it was always talked about. I would not say that I always had a weight problem. No, not as a child. I was a dancer. I was in ballet. I was active that way.
I can actually see that.
Yeah, but then as I, approached high school, early 20s, I definitely controlled weight through like, eating 2 lean cuisines a day or something, and then when I was in my mid to late 20s, just some life circumstances happened and the weight started coming on. And I think part of it for me, it felt like an armor and protection. There's aspects of being heavier. Even though you're more visible, you're actually kind of invisible. And I liked that. And then, I got up to, a certain weight thinking it wouldn't go anymore, and it continued. And I got comfortable with each new normal, whatever that was, I guess is the best way to put it. And there were different times when I would try to take it off and maybe I'd take like 30 pounds off, something like that, and would do it not so much at all through exercise, but probably through food predominantly. But it never stuck. It never stayed. It never, it was just always, it was a dance, a bit of a dance. And then I had previously to getting married 16 years ago, I had dropped, I was probably about 40 pounds under what I am now. And I did do that with exercise and nutrition. Not so much cardio, but I did other things, Pilates and all that kind of thing. And then I met my husband, and it was just a step kid and moving and being married for the first time and all these changes. And I don't know, I never really identified as much as an emotional eater as I probably am, because I was not the type to sit down and, go through a whole bag of cookies or chips. My thing was bigger portions, that type of thing. But I don't think I ever really realized until extremely recently, like maybe in the last year, how much I used food to ground my emotions, like to calm me is probably the best way to put it.
And more than numbing. So calming.
Both.
Interesting.
Both, I would say probably. But definitely initially calming. And then it just started creeping up. And then we moved to Lake Havasu City, Arizona in '09. And I just did not adapt well. And it just continued to pile on and pile on and pile on. And then I think also combined with my age, things were changing that way. And as I got bigger, I got even less active, which, it just was a snowball, like careening out of control down a mountainside is what happened. Till I got so big that it was just, I couldn't even, I knew things were changing, it was hard to do the laundry because it was hard to stand for that long. It was hard to cook. I'd have to sit down in between doing things. Going to the grocery store, I'd have to stop and sit. Because I was so sedentary that my back muscles, my stomach muscles, everything was atrophying. And I just, as I sit here now, it's hard to believe how much I ignored it and or didn't think about it or just checked out of it. Today, through doing different, some of the classes here, especially probably James Garrett's brain kind of, the stuff that he does with the brain, the work with that, and also Dr. Jared Dupree's, lectures in terms of mindfulness. I cannot believe that I wasn't mindful of it.
Right.
Like that's just, it's very, it was a very different existence to what mine is today in terms of being present and in the moment. Honestly, an odd outcome of the pandemic is that you can only plan your future so far to a certain extent. And so if I wanted to be up in my head, I really couldn't, because all you really had was right now. So that running concurrently with, because I was here in March of 2020, and that's the first time that I ever had Jared as a lecturer or James. And it changed a lot for me. Then going home between now and this last visit here this summer, these last 16, 18 weeks, that knowledge that I gained just from those 2 weeks that I was here in March.
Was that a light bulb, like an aha?
Oh,
Was it
yes,
aha
very
for
much
you?
so. Yes. Yeah, it really was. And so, everything's, I mean, I meditate now, and I believe me, that was like not anything I would have ever even like explored. I've known about it since like, I don't know what, the 80s. And now I just, that little calm app, I do the, little 10 minutes a day, but it has changed a lot. And just being more present, I think also being able to be more present within my body, what I'm feeling, how it feels.
Is it about the same, would you say, for you, mind, body, and spirit, as far as your transformation, or
I,
has one changed more than the other?
I
Or your
would
most
say,
recent?
yeah, most recently, the body, I'm not the Movara person that will come in and just, how do I want to say this? It is about the exercise for me, but it's about the other aspects too, currently. I mean, that, where my fitness level, as that changes, that balance, or that how that balances out may change that aspect a bit. But I still had a lot more work than I even realized to do internally. So I would say that for myself, in the last, since my marriage broke up, I'm right now like within 4 pounds of losing 100 pounds in a year, and that'll be in 2 weeks. Yeah, and so, but it's come a lot. Like I've had good weeks. I mean, I've just the weight and the food, somehow through lectures with Melissa, when I was here in the spring of 2019, and then again in, March. I was really able to lock that aspect of it down a lot faster than making exercise a habit, much faster. And so the weight loss has been consistent over this last year, I would say. There have been times when I've plateaued, or it was slower than I would have liked, but it has always been consistently going down and in the right direction. And for me, I think I'm one of those, how do I want to say, because I used weight in a way to keep a wall up or armor or protection, for me, it coming off too fast might be almost too much. By doing it this way, every so often, it's like, oh, okay, things are changing, and kind of getting used to a new, how I move in the world, or how exposed I am, so to speak. I think that's been a benefit for me. It's been helpful that way. But as that's continued on, I become more fit, more able to do more things. When I came here in 2019, I couldn't bend down straight over and tie my shoes. I couldn't reach around and, itch my back if I needed to. I could not get up off the ground without assistance. I could go on and on about those types of things that have changed.
And how do you feel now?
Oh, I mean, I was laying in bed the other night, and I was thinking, a year ago, you weighed, 95 pounds more than you do right now. I was, when I came back in 2019, my waist was 59 inches. That's 1 inch short of 5 feet rolled out. That's a lot, and just more room in the bed, that kind of thing. And most recently, having the weight low enough that, someone would let me ride on a horse. If I wanted to go zip line right now, I could do that with my grandkids. If I wanted to get on a ride in an amusement park, I wouldn't have to be as nervous about whether or not that roll bar coming down could lock. And I'm pretty sure that I could get on a plane without a lap band to extender for the seatbelt. Yeah, I do. I feel much more, and I think the difference too, feeling different, is that I did it the right way, with nutrition, not starving myself, and activity. I noticed that even though I've been this weight before, and I'm actually even older, I look different. And I think it has to do a lot with that, how I'm eating, that aspect of it, and moving. That's made a big difference in how, what your end result is from a.
Pictures were.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right?
Yeah.
And not just that you've lost
Yeah.
the pounds. You've seen
Yeah.
that kind of before and after, but complete body change.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be really careful with the credit cards because like now I can go into a department store and I don't have to go to
You go for it.
I don't have to go to Lane Bryant. I don't have to go to Avenue, you know, or these like different off sites on Amazon, you know, that kind of thing. And I mean, when I started here in 2019, there were some things that I had that were 5X. You know, the workout shirts I had, that kind of thing. It's like a trip almost. And like when I went horseback riding, like I had a layer of clothes on underneath the clothes that I was wearing, and the clothes still fit on the outside. You know, that was, you know, so it's kind of sometimes I mean, it's not hard to wrap my head around it. Obviously, by my last trip to Dillard's, but still, you know, I'm like a kid in the candy store right now a little bit with all of that.
Awesome. Was that the highlight? Would you say? I know you've had so many highs here, but the horse riding.
Yeah, I would say, you know, the horseback riding, and I did get to stop sign when I was here back in 07, 08, because that initially was the assessment hike here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they would hand out shirts that said, I hiked, that was your prize. You got a shirt that said you hiked it.
Yeah.
But doing that again, that was a big highlight. And actually getting out and hiking, and doing West Canyon, that, you know, just realizing how much Sharon kept trying to tell me, you know, that you're really going to enjoy it more if you go outside. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good with my treadmill. I'm fine. Thank you. Yeah, she was so right. You know, I really just enjoy being out there. And AirPods are a wonderful thing too. Let's not, you know, like that helps too. But so I think the hiking aspect of it, and also I didn't take a Jared class till this time with Jared Jones, because I perceived them as having a higher, well, just might be a little bit more than I could do.
Intimidating.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something that, you know, I knew Sharon from years ago, and not to say her classes are a walk in the park, they're not, but I knew her. I didn't know him. He was an unknown quantity to me, and I just was like, I don't know about that. So I did, you know, I did classes with him. So that was a highlight too, to do that. And I didn't live my whole time in the pool or, you know, on the recumbent bike. I was able to, and I actually ran on the treadmill for short times, but I did run, you know, and I had not done that before. Or like, you know, at a higher incline, you know, there's a lot of firsts that I had that I didn't even have years ago when I was younger. And my heart, you know, that's the other thing coming here from being so inactive, you know, my heart was not in the best of shape. It was out of shape, extremely out of shape. And so it's been a journey to bring my heart back up to a fitness, and that doesn't happen overnight, because it doesn't get to that level of, you know, weakness, shall we say, for lack of a better word, overnight either. And so, you know, that was something to redo some tests with Jared and go, hey, I used to be like very poor, and now I'm at least fair, you know, so moving towards good. The other thing for me too, I have a lot of highlights. My BMI finally moved out of morbid obesity into just obesity, but to have that morbid word out of it, I mean, that's a clinical diagnosis that's in your charts when you go see your doctor. And I was very, very razor thin close to diabetes. And now I'm, you know, I'm so in the middle of normal. You know, it's all of that, and getting off of blood pressure meds.
Are you off?
Not completely, but I'm like really, I like one med is gone completely. The other one is halved. And even that half, I only need to take about 3 times a week to keep it under, you know,
Goal to get
eventually. And I think that'll happen, you know, as the weight continues to drop and my fitness level continues to increase. I don't foresee that, you know, I definitely see that as happening.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just met you. I'm like so happy, so proud for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. And the other thing is that, yes, I spent a lot of time here, but that time gave me that time to, and I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And I don't know that I'll ever have that chunk of time like that to really focus just on me internally. And I worked really hard on all of that stuff. And it is, I can't tell you what a relief to leave here and how do I want to say? I mean, more than just feeling whole, feel in command of eating or food or my knowledge of it and exercise and fitness and what I need to do to continue that moving forward. The other aspect of all this, though, too, is at the age of 55 and spending time with, my parents who are in their early 80s and other people, if you don't use it, you will lose it. And I did lose it when I got so heavy. I mean, I was that weak. Getting that close to that edge is a place I'm never going to again. And mobility is where it's at. That will define really, how much I can really participate when I want to participate.
Quality, right?
Yeah, I don't have to think about whether or not I can do this. No, why not? Like with the horseback riding, I didn't even, I don't even have to have that thought at all. And to have, I don't want to say fulfilling necessarily, but I think activity, as much as you can have control over your life, there's obviously things you don't have that may happen to you, but it will give me many more options than I would have had I not committed and done the program. And by the program, I do mean all of it, not just in the gym or the hiking. It's, the classes with, the lecturers, all of the whole enchilada, shall we say. Yeah.
And next year, you're going to climb a rock. What did you say? Rock mountain?
Yeah, I would like to try rock climbing. Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
Well, TJ would take you.
Yeah,
Anywhere in the
right.
world, you should just spin the globe and
Right.
she'll take you.
Right. I mean, so there's like so many things. I've told my grandchildren that when they get 18, anywhere they want to go outside of a couple places I don't want to go to, we'll go visit. And so my granddaughter was like, well, I'd like to see Colorado. And I'm like, you got to think a little bigger than that. And she said, well, Greece. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we can do that. And I don't have to think about how, all the things that you have to think about when you're bigger, about maneuvering something like that or how comfortable it will be. It's just being that heavy is extremely uncomfortable on a lot of different levels.
And you got your life back.
I don't want to, honestly, I don't know that I would even say that I got my life back. I feel like I'm beginning a life I've never had. Right, because of the mental things that have changed, that have shifted. The self-confidence and awareness and just being more present. Yeah, so it's really a new life for me. And it's kind of, how do I want to say, it's sort of weird to think about because usually you're always thinking about the future of what that's going to be in these plans. And I do have some plans, but it's not really, it's really wide open. And that's a weird, I don't know, even when I was in my teens graduating high school, did I feel like I have as much freedom as I do right now in this moment.
You mentioned wings several times when you
Yeah.
talked, and I thought that was very interesting.
Right.
That meant to you.
Of options, of choices, that it's a virtual, there's, yeah.
So if you had other people who were interested in Movara or you before you ever came here, what kinds of things would have been helpful for you to hear to help make that decision? So, people who might watch this video,
I
what
think,
would you say why they should do it?
I think why they should do it is that the thought of coming to a place like this, of course, is considerably intimidating. Even just starting with like the packing list, what to bring. You can't even like imagine for yourself what they get. 6:30 is stretching and hiking. Like what? I mean, and I just have to tell you that you wouldn't be alone in those feelings. That everybody who is new here has been, or anybody that's here who's new or is here and a returning guest was in your shoes. And so you're not alone in that. And that in terms of the support that you receive from the staff, I don't even know that I can language what that is. It's just all encompassing. While this is a business, it has a heart. It's not corporate. It's not like, I mean, even myself, when I had a bit of a situation with my blood pressure meds and, one of the front desk staff went with me to the hospital and spent 4 hours in the ER room while I'm getting evaluated, only for the guy to come in and go, you need to get off that stuff. You're fine. You're in great shape. But I just wasn't, it had been suppressing things too much. So it had, given cause to some, like a medical, like something's going on here that doesn't feel quite right. And, but anyway, you're not going to get that at the Hilton or a lot of other places who are in, shall we say, a similar business. Um, this doesn't have shareholders. And that does change sometimes how business operates in terms of, and here it's very much about you as the person and yes, you will be, encouraged, but no one's going to push you so far outside of your boundary that you need to worry about that, and there are people who can hit the ground running. There are people like myself who needed to take it at a much more reduced pace, so to speak, and there is room within the program here to do that and do that actually fairly easily. And there's, like I said, you're taken care of when you go for meals. You're taken care of by the front desk staff, the housekeeping staff, as well. I know that's strange. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily think about talking about them on a video like this. But when you are of a certain size or have different issues, different medical issues, things can come up, and they are just the most professional, kind-hearted, and whatever you might need extra of, or whatever issues you might have, they're there to support you. And again, the staff who waits on you and cooks for you, they have such I don't know, they're interested. They really do enjoy seeing you succeed. All the staff does here. That's really clear. They're very interested in your success. Maybe sometimes, maybe before even you yourself are. And believe and know from many experiences and proving that point home that, yeah, you can make a change. And yeah, things can be different. Just trust them. That's what I would say. Let go of whatever control you think you need to have and place your trust in their hands. And you will be so happy for that decision.
I wish we could hug.
I know, right? It's that time of year. I know.
My love to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You've had such a journey.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everybody does, whether they're here for a week or longer, like myself. I think, it is definitely what you put into it, what you're being, you're going to probably get more out of the program the more open and the more you can let go. Believe me, it's not easy, and I know that, and I've been there, but just a willingness to do that. Maybe you don't get all the way there, but even just being willing to do that will, make your stay even that much sweeter at the end.
Different to every person. I spoke with someone who was here for 3 weeks, and at the end they had done one hike and talked to 4 new people, like had a meal at a table, and that was the biggest win of their life. So it does. The journey's different for every single person.
It certainly is. The other thing I would say too is that one of the things that is really encouraged here, and I think is, and so if you're nervous about coming here, is that everybody just needs to stay in their own lane. And what your lane is, don't worry about what someone the next door to you is doing or in front of you is doing. And that's just fine. Just pay attention to what you need, and to not compare or that type of thing, and they definitely, the staff is already there, but it's even more encouraged here in terms of, kindness and support. And you do find that from the community of guests when you're here. Everybody is excited for every win that everybody else gets, whether it's running on the treadmill or, swimming or what extra laps or whatever on a hike, whatever it may be, and that is like, it's funny, but it really is encouraging when you have others like, hey, so-and-so ran today or whatever, it's fun. You all celebrate those wins collectively together, so there's that. And there was something else I wanted to say too with respect to, staying in your own lane and, I don't know, it escapes me now, but.
It's amazing. Amazing. Anything else you wanted me to ask her? So I didn't really look at the paper. I only looked at what's your name and what's your age.
That's okay. That's okay.
Anything else that you want to share or
Um,
anything else to know? I love everything you've said.
I think at the end, it's just, it really is an investment in yourself. Yes, it is, a fair amount of money. But at the end of the day, especially in terms of this is about health, like for me, I'm speaking more in terms of like a transformation aspect versus a reset aspect. Okay. Because that's what my journey so far has been, is that is a transformation. But like even a reset, it just to dial things back, slow things down, recenter yourself. All of that can be done. There's whatever your reason is for coming here, and it could be a myriad. It's health. It's people have been here, due to losing family members or losing a job or medical issues or just wanting to get back on track. But I think even those, like in terms of getting back on track or reset, I think they mine even more than they think they would while they're here. And also there is the opportunity to make some amazing friendships that will last far beyond leaving here. And it's just, there's a heart here. There's a heart here, and you feel it when you get here. And you can just relax into that. And there's not a lot of places, I think, that you can go where you're going to get that kind of connection or that ability or to have that available to you, and that accessibility.
Genuine. You can train certain aspects of it, but people have to
the authenticity. The authenticity of, the staff and the genuine want to help you improve your life, whatever that may be that you're looking for. So.
And will you be back? You said 2 weeks in February.
I will, yeah, because my journey, the way I look at this now is that the journey in terms of living a healthier lifestyle will continue on. It's a lifestyle, the way that I live now. But the journey of weight loss, no, I expect that to be finite. We're going to get to where we want to be, and we're going to be, maintaining it. And so for me, I have to have a shoulder surgery, and as I recuperate from that, I'll come back for a couple of weeks and then do the other shoulder and then come back for a couple of weeks. And then I have some ideas in mind of where I want to be on a fitness level or a scale level each time, I come back. And then ultimately the goal would be probably 10 months from now, I'll roughly 10 to 11 months, be roughly 2 years into living in this manner. And at that point should be at a maintenance type weight. And at that point, probably we'll go in for like skin removal surgery and some different things, because it will mean about 180 weight pound loss at the end of the road.
Yeah. And are there certain things like the zip lining? Do you have other things in mind?
Yeah, what's for me, it's as it, like, even just, like physically, the idea of just driving around and traveling the country and seeing things when you're heavy would not have been fun. Like, I could be somewhere and see some activity and think, oh yeah, I think I'm going to go like kayak down that river. Okay, I can do that. Like that kind of thing. The spontaneity of it, I'm excited for that aspect of it.
You said you're not into much the social media when you were talking about the contest winners, but I think you should document your journeys or your travels somehow.
Yeah, I think I probably will,
right?
to a certain extent.
Yourself,
yeah.
It'd be cool if you had like a little go cam or
Yeah.
I don't know all the Instagrams and all
Yeah.
of those things, but how many people would be touched
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
your
that's
story?
true.
I would love to see it,
That's true. That's
You're creative. You can come up with some clever.
Well, I was actually watching the 4 women who did. I don't want to say that they won a contest, because to me they joined in partnership with Movara. They agreed to lay it all out there for all of you to see, and they got different packages in terms of how they would approach that. And getting to know those women was a real gift, and watching them do that process, because you had a couple of their ages were very varied, and it was a lot of fun to be here with them while that was going on. And so I'm a lot more open maybe to sharing that stuff, watching their bravery in doing that themselves. Because to me, that really was like, you're going to put what on the internet? And then here I am. Yeah, you can use it on the website. Like, I would not have done that a while ago. Like, not at all. So,
But so many people have been inspired by their videos. I mean, every time
yeah, I
see
can
it,
believe that.
I know.
I can believe that. I mean, I as a guest wouldn't necessarily know quantitatively. You would know what that would look like. But yeah, I would imagine it would have been.
Well, keep us posted. I know
I
you're
will.
coming back, but I want to hear about your travels and
I
your
know.
journeys
I
and your
will.
adventures and your rock
I will.
climbings.
I will. So, yeah. Next time for me, just because of the shoulder injury, there were some hikes that I didn't go on that had to do with like climbing or different things like that. And I also was very mindful of the fact of how long I was going to be here, and I did not want to have injury. So I pushed myself, but I made sure that I was, yeah, I mean, in terms of what I could do, and just kind of wanted to ease into that a bit. And so I'm looking forward to being able to do some more, shall I say, aggressive hiking when I come back for sure.
Just be careful who you tell. You say aggressive
I know,
teenagers.
I
She'll
know.
have you in
And the
Peru.
kayaking, like doing the
Yeah.
kayaking, because there's so much shoulder
I've
work
never done that
involved.
here. Yeah.
I could, I couldn't do that this time. So,
Maybe next summer.
yeah.
Well, congrats again.
Thank you, Christy.
Safe travels.
Oh, thank you so much.